If you don't know these 5 styling hacks, then you're probably styling your thin, fine hair all wrong. If your hair is too flat on top, it can actually make your face look droopy and make your hair look thinner. Or if you use the wrong products or the right products incorrectly, it can make your hair look greasy and again, make your hair look thinner. But if your hair is too stiff, it can actually make your overall look too rigid and, oddly enough, still make your hair look thinner. But don't worry, I'm gonna show you 5 styling hacks that will absolutely make any thin, fine hair look 10 times more flattering and fuller. And this will work on any hair length. And I wanna say a quick thank you to Lifen for sponsoring this video. Now, before we start, I want you to take a look at these 2 different photos. We have a before and an after. The craziest part is we didn't cut or change the cut in any way, shape, or form. All we did was style the hair to manipulate it in a way that you'd be able to see what happens if you don't implement the different techniques that I'm gonna be showing you today. And I also want you to understand that these techniques are not only gonna help you get more volume, but they're also gonna help protect your hair from excess damage, which can cause breakage and is a really big problem and very common on thin, fine hair. Now, technique number 1 is using the correct product correctly. Now, once we get out of the shower, the first thing we need to do is we need to make sure that the hair is towel dried. And that means that it's even dampness, okay? So it's not super wet in any specific area, dripping, because that's just gonna dilute the product. And that it's not overly dry in one area so that we get a random distribution of product because it's gonna apply differently in the areas that it's dry versus the areas that it's wet. First thing we're gonna do is we're going to grab a comb or a brush and we're just gonna comb the hair out. Then we comb out any tangles that we need to get out. This is what everybody does, go straight for the roots. But we actually wanna start down here and work our way up so that we can minimize the amount of damage that we're gonna apply to the hair. What'll happen is if there's a tangle down here and you start up here, you're just gonna work that tangle in and then you're gonna make it actually much harder to get that tangle out. That could cause breakage. Heads up, any product that we use today, we are gonna make sure there's link in the description. Now, the next thing is we wanna make sure that we use a heat protectant. And this is gonna be important because, again, thin, fine hair is prone to damage, and many times that's because it's a little bit more fragile to begin with. So everything we need to do during the drying process has to make sure that we're not adding any extra stress to the hair that we don't need to add, and that we're minimizing any stress to the hair that we do need to add. We're gonna spray that in. So I'm gonna kind of start at the mid shaft and the ends, and then just comb it from there. We're going to go through and we're gonna comb this through just to make sure that we have good distribution. So we'll comb it through, starting again kind of at the mid shafts and then working through the ends. Next, this is probably, I would argue, the most important product that you're gonna use. This is a volumizer. Do you use a volumizer right now? Yes. Okay. Does that look a lot to you or does that look like very little to you?
That's about what I use.
About what you use? Okay, good. So let's use more. Many times I find that people will, especially with thin, fine hair, they'll use a little bit of product and they're scared to use too much, and then they use a tiny bit, get the feeling of the product, but none of the potential volume that it can create, and they go, that product didn't work for me. I'm gonna start basically the same way you did, right? I'm starting it at the roots up here on the top, okay, and then I'm working it through. I want the majority of this product to be up here in the crown area because we wanna create volume on the top, because that's usually what lays flattest first, right? Like usually you're like, this lays flat, and the sides, they tend to get more volume for most people. I don't need as much product on the sides. I wanna concentrate where I need volume up here to create more volume, and on the sides, I'm just gonna comb it through. Now the next step or technique is to blow dry for volume and not for damage. It's really important to understand that when you're blow drying your hair, you can minimize the amount of damage that you're creating from the blow drying process. There's an inherent amount that's gonna come with it, right? But if we take every step to minimize that, then it means that we're doing our hair, especially in your case, a favor, but we're still getting the result that we need to get. I'm gonna use the Lifen dryer. Now, if you've spent any time around the channel, you know that I've used this forever. I've talked about it forever, but it's very specific why I'm using it in this case. Okay, so this dryer actually has 4 different temperature settings. It has hot, medium, and cool shot. Plus, if you hold this button right here for a few seconds, it'll actually start to cycle between the hot and the cold settings. Now, that's great because it can minimize frizz, but it also can help to minimize damage. Now, but what I'm gonna have you do is, at home, I would recommend that you use it on medium setting. And the fact is that that's gonna help to minimize the damage. Even on that medium setting, it's still gonna dry your hair super quickly. Oh, and by the way, they are having a holiday deal right now where you can save up to 30% off. I'm gonna make sure I go ahead and throw a link in the description so that you can find that. What I found in working with this specific dryer against other dryers is that it dries hair faster with less heat and it's quieter, which is, to me, is just nice. We know where we want to keep volume and we know we want to take the volume away. Where do we want to keep it?
On the top.
Boom. And we're going to take it away from the sides to encourage the illusion of volume on top. I still want to make sure that it's going down the hair shaft. So even though we're drying hair like this, I'm not doing this. I'm still going down the hair shaft, right? Or on the sides, down the hair shaft. If your hair is longer, it's still down, down, down. Do you see how that's still making sense, right? And then I'll use that to basically get this about 30% dry. So now we're going to move into step 3, which is creating less volume on the sides and the back. We're creating more volume on the top. And there's a specific process we use to achieve that. So first thing, we're going to grab the dryer again, and I'm actually going to apply the modifier now, because now I'm going to use a round brush, and I do want to be very careful about where that airflow goes. I do not want to use this and just a round brush. This is like 50% of the overall result that you're going to get, just that right there. Okay, so where we don't want volume is right on the sides, right? So we don't want a lot of bend there, because that creates volume. So we want those to be a little bit straighter. Does that make sense? What we're gonna do is we're gonna get this off your face. We're gonna start down here, and I'm actually going to take this and I'm gonna blow dry this down, right? And very little bit, so I'm not doing this and getting a lot of bend in it. I'm just trying to pull it basically straight. And the simple fact that it's a round brush, it's gonna give me some bend. It's gonna give me some roundness. So even if I try to pull it straight, I'm still gonna end with some roundness, and it's gonna be basically the right amount. Put this in here. Point this airflow down the hair shaft, not at it, down it like this. And I'm just gonna pull through it, go slow over the ends. I'm just gonna do that. And it's just gonna be quick. Which takes us into number 4, which is creating more volume on the top and more control in the front. And this is gonna be a big deal for you. What happens when you put your hair down, when you feel, it does that, right? And it drives you crazy. So we want control out of that, but we also want volume out of here. We're actually gonna lift it up, not just out from the scalp, but actually almost opposite the way. You're gonna part it this way, so we're gonna go this way with it. So I can do this, okay? And now I'll just hit a button right here. Now we know we're going to cold, okay? That little blue thing, it's very obvious, okay? And now while it's here, I'm just gonna cool it down a little bit to lock that in. Right? This is a basic technique that a lot of people have heard about. But if we put this together with everything else, now, when we mess this up, we're gonna create a little bit more lift through there. This ends up looking like it's actually got a lot more volume here because there's so little volume in there. And you don't need a ton of volume through there, right? Because it's just gonna make, the bigger this gets, see what happens when I just did that? That one little thing, right? Yes. Okay. Cold button again. We're just gonna cool it down. This is just locking that in, okay? Okay, now. I'm gonna put you on the spot here. I feel bad. All right. Do you use a round brush on your front area, on the bang area?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna give you this. Just give me an idea. Show me what you would do without turning it on. Just show me what you would typically do.
Roll them up like a curler.
Okay. Yeah.
And then
And then you hit them with the blow dryer.
I hit it with a blow dryer.
So that is really good. It's gonna change the way you approach it. But what we're gonna do is what I like to call non-directional. You're always parting your hair on the side, so you naturally did this when you went to style it.
Yes.
Okay. I want to see a little bit of bend, a little bit of lift at those roots area,
okay.
Which basically means that I'm just going to take this section, and instead of going one way or the other, I'm going to go with the center straight down this way. Over here, I'm going to bring it this way. Over here, I'm going to bring it this way, and I'm going to style it as though you're going to wear a very thick, strong bang,
okay.
Even though you're not. And then we'll use our fingers to style it. We'll get into number 5, which is kind of the key, this way. Okay? But I am going to bring all of this. I'm going to start it off a little bit this way only because it's so dramatic that way. Okay, so I'm kind of going against the grain here a little bit. We're going to go a little bit this way. Again, that airflow is pointed down the hair shaft. I'll take this section and I'll bring it this way. This way. I still love that this is quiet. The fact that I can film this right now and like have this on and the audio isn't totally trashed is impressive to me. So I can do this, okay? Here, you can hit a cold button and cool that down. There you go.
Nice.
I told you get volume. Technique or tip number 5, which is you're actually gonna style it, but you're gonna style it with your hands. The reason I say this is so specific is because people like want to either like get it combed into place, they'll do the lock in with the brush. Okay, I've got kind of a style going. Then it's like, oh my gosh, let's just not move. Like it's gonna fall flat if I touch it. Let's spray it into place.
Yes.
Does that sound familiar?
Yes,
Okay.
it does.
What we're gonna do now is just, you should be able to mess this up, do whatever we want with it. Okay, get in here, get crazy with it, and go, okay, now I'm gonna style it back off your face. I'm gonna just comb it with my fingers. I'm gonna get it back off your face, and I'm gonna go, what do I want this to look like? Well, we're gonna part it to this side. Okay, so I'm gonna bring this back off your face. I've got a little bit of bend there. I want some pieces to kind of come down in your face, so I'll just kind of use my fingers. And what you'll find is the more times you do it, oh, I'm almost there, that looks cute. Wait a minute, I'm gonna start over again. This is something that I do constantly with people, right? The more times you actually play with it and kind of break it up, you'll find many times that it actually gets a little bit more movement, a little bit more shape, and ends up actually looking better. So I'll start with this side. Now we're kind of styling with your fingers, right? And I've got 2 different potential special sauces, if you will. 1, have you ever used wax before? Okay, so what we want is we want some control. Now, the way that we get that hair out of your face is either by spraying it out of your face or cutting it so short there's no hair to be in your face. So this is a wax. This is something that can go really wrong or it can be really great. The key is when you find one of these, you're looking for a matte finish wax. It's very important. Sometimes they'll say things like high shine, high hold. You're looking for low or no shine and high hold. That means that it's gonna have the least amount of weigh your hair down greasiness and the most amount of actual control to be able to hold it kind of like a liquid hairspray almost. So with yours, I'm gonna put about this much in, okay? So that's about this much. What you're gonna do is you're gonna work some like this through your hand, so you see what's in the palm. I'm gonna put this like this, okay. Now most of your product is in your palms. So what we wanna do is we don't wanna do this, which is what people do, right? 90% of the product goes in 90% of your hair. I wanna start back here and kind of work this in, okay? So I get some of that product off in the back where you have most of your hair.
All right.
And then I'm gonna work it through again, my hands, and now I'm actually going to comb it through the very front, okay? So I'm gonna do this. And see how now, like when I do this, see how I'm getting more movement or control out of it? Okay. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mess this up. And I actually want you, now I want you to kind of just put your hands in it and play with it. And even when you do it and it's messy, you're still getting less volume here, you're getting more volume here. And it's because all of the techniques that we used from the time that it was wet to now have given us a foundation that allows you to mess it all up and start over again. You can continue to do this. No matter what you do, it's not gonna lay your hair flat all of a sudden, right? You're gonna mess with it and you're gonna play with it and you'll still be able to finger it back into place because we have the foundation that we need to have. I've got one last little thing of special sauce. Let's say you're really, really thin, like in this area. What you can do is you can take these fibers, let's go like this. So now it looks much denser just around the hairline right there. But you would never know that there's anything going on there. It doesn't fall off, it doesn't like come off on your fingers ridiculously. It just rinses out tomorrow. It's like it was never there. My hair's thin here and I have these in right now to make it look thicker, legitimately. So to me, that is like the 3-part system. You deal with the ends, then you deal with the style process to create more volume, to help it look more dense. And then if you're really like insecure and you've got some pieces that you can see the scalp through, you use fibers, your hair looks 10 times thicker, it's got volume in the right areas, more volume, and all in all, it just feels much more youthful, much more flattering. So again, I want to say a huge thank you to Lifen for sponsoring this video. And if you want to learn more about the Lifen dryer, I am going to make sure that there's a link in the description as well as the pinned comment. And there'll be a discount code if you use Justin13. You'll save an additional $13 off. So go ahead and check that out. Make sure you do. You're going to love it. I promise that. Actually, here's yours right now. This is for you so that you can take that with you from Lifen.
Thank you, Lifen.
And otherwise, if you liked this video, thanks for hanging out. You are probably going to love this video. So go over there and I'll see you over there. Bye.